Bitter criticism. We are gonna finish the Fyodor Lukyanov article. That's what I'm gonna do now. I'm gonna finish Fyodor Lukyanov article. Well, last episode I said that Fyodor Lukyanov now is my top 4 my top 4 analyst. Is nice because I need a 4-1. I need more analysts in my top 4, a top 5 maybe. I just don't know who can be my 5th analyst. But the more analysts you read, the better informed you will be, you know. So I guess Fyodor Lukyanov is a great writer. He's a great analyst, and he's my 4th place because I didn't pay attention before. But that's it. My first one is, but I made a ranking, but I will do it again. You will say I will do it again because that rank is too heavy. You know, do you remember? I will do a second one, and it will be a smaller one, definitely. And well, my first place is Timur Fomenko, a mysterious guy, maybe super chat GDP. Maybe he is Vladimir Putin himself. Who knows? I like this guy because he's super serious, you know. He never made a joke. He's always absolutely focused on his life as a Russian citizen. He's focused, you know. He's extremely competent. Timur Fomenko. And my second place is Pepe Escobar because he is kind of funny because Brazilians are funny. They are Brazilians are irreverent. Do you know that word? Maybe it didn't exist in English by now. Irreverente as irreverent. I guess it do exist in English. Anyway, well, my 3rd place is Bradley Blankenship. And what I just said the last time, Bradley Blankenship is so smooth. He writes so smooth and so soft. That's it. I like softness. He's a native speaker of English, and I guess you can note that. You can, because he's a better writer, but maybe his arguments are not that great as Timur Fomenko and Pepe Escobar, but he's he's my favorite English speaker journalist. Chronist, I guess. And in the 4th place we had Fyodor Lukyanov, and we are keep reading this news. Fyodor Lukyanov, May 29. Putin is back for another 6 years. This is what his foreign policy will look like. When he first took office, the Russian president was trying to integrate with the West. That was that's my comment. That this was in I guess, but I don't remember actually, but I guess it's 2008. And when he first took office, the Russian president was trying to integrate with the West. Now the whole ball game was changed. I guess NATO didn't accept Vladimir Putin and Russia because NATO is imperialist. That's it. They just wanted, as Pepe Escobar said, they thought, and they keep thinking they will die thinking this. Maybe they will change their minds. The fact is, Europe, West Europe thinks that Russia is a gas station. That's it. It's a gas station full of beers, full of bars. not birds, bears. Anyway, let's take where we stop. After the extremely difficult 1990s, when it was necessary just to say among the leading players, since the beginning of the century, there has been an increase in opportunities and status as a result of joining the global Western-centric system. As the economy stabilized and governance was put in order, Russia became an attractive enough partner for developed countries, which decided that it would be beneficial to cooperate with it and invest in its economy. Thus, Russia not only broadened its economic base, but also intensified its foreign policy, especially in the post-Soviet space. At the same time, Moscow managed to strengthen internationally, but weaken in a region of fundamental importance. These were, oddly enough, components of a single process. On the one hand, the pull of the former Soviet republics into the Euro-Atlantic sphere exacerbated competition with Russia and fueled conflict. On the other hand, the fact that Russia's resources made it an object of the West's greatest pragmatic interest strengthened its position in relation to its neighbors. The same from Europe, despite the political constraints to Africa, East Asia, and to a Russia proved valuable as a counterweight. Well, this is from I just read that before, and I will call that video a 31 minutes video. Bradley Blankenship and Fyodor Lukyanov love each other. That will be the name. So I'm gonna take the article where I live right here. Economic integration with the Western world, albeit as a slave, brought dividends and helped to improve living standards, but was at odds with the desire of Moscow to assert itself as an increasingly independent geopolitical force. Up to a point, the two directions could be reconciled, but with increasingly loud difficulty. In February 2022, the line was drawn. Russia made a choice in favor of geopolitics and openly opposed the West. To what extent this decision was conscious and calculated, and to what extent it was catalyzed by circumstances or even external provocation, we will be unable to judge sometime in the future. But a further combination of the two vectors has become impossible, and the ceiling of the rebound from the Soviet collapse, increasing our role within the liberal international order, has been reached. Subtitle: Beyond the West. Dependence on the West was at the heart of this course. So the shift was tectonic. For the first time in a long time, the West has completely disappeared from Russian politics. Official relations have been reduced to an exchange of accusations or threats, and the gradual denunciation of a legal framework built up over decades. Unofficial relations are not much diminishing shared economic interests, are not much broader, focusing on the management of remaining but rapidly diminishing shared economic interest. In none of the likely scenarios is there any prospect of restoring relations, even remotely resembling those of the past. The split is deep and enduring. The best option is to anchor the confrontation institutionally to prevent it from turning into a direct clash and to move towards a peaceful coexistence. The question of Russia's integration into the Western-centered system is no longer on the agenda, not only because of the deterioration of our relations, but also because the whole system itself is changing irreversibly. The military crisis in Ukraine began as the culmination of US-Russian security contradictions in Europe. But over the past few years, it has taken on a different dimension. The conflict has become a catalyst for a shift in the global balance away from Western dominance, not to any order, a particular pattern, but rather to an elastic configuration in Moscow. This opens up opportunities, but it also means the need to revise some familiar assumptions. So, Fyodor Lukyanov, a pretty responsible Russian citizen, you know, he's writing something substantial things about Russia. Well, he has a very objective way and substantive way of rating, and well, he's a lot of content here. Multipolarity without poles. The new situation has largely wiped out what Russia had achieved in the previous phase through increasingly conflictual but still cooperative economic and, to some extent, cultural ideological cooperation with the West. Even the countries most closely allied with Moscow faced with the acute antagonism between Russia and the US NATO have become concerned about how to avoid making a choice while maintaining cooperation with everyone. The West partners in the global South and East are doing the same. Well, you know, I definitely was wrong about saying Russian universities. I was an Italian citizenship. I wrote that for a lot of colleges in Russia. That I was an Italian citizenship. I'm gonna ask if as a Chilean citizenship. What about that? Bound by a chain, the Ukraine conflict has had a noticeable impact on the international situation. However, in itself, it is not the beginning of a new stage, but rather an attempt to put an end to uncertainty in relations. Conflicts over spheres of influence, typical of previous eras, did not find a peaceful solution and turned into a violent phase, as has often happened in the past. In those times, the desired outcome of the clash was to define the boundaries of those very spheres. Now, however, the hostilities are taking place in a different international environment. The world is rapidly losing its order. Today's peculiarities do not call for a grand bargain that will wind up the confrontation. It requires clear rules and mechanisms to enforce compliance. Neither is there now. In modern journalistic terms, victories in hybrid warfare is not complete and unconditional, but vicious and ambiguous, implying the continuation of the conflict by various means, not necessarily directly military. This is not to say that there should be no distinction between defeat and victory, but there will be no dot in the I, not dot in the I. Look, not dot in the I. Nice one. Understand? So by now there will be no victories, just in my opinion, this is just World War III, you know? They are saying that victory is not victory, it's just more conflict. So, in my opinion, everybody's saying that there will be World War III, and what? And of course, that all this is because of capitalism, you know? Capitalism is the responsible system, is what we are living in. And all this war is just because of capitalism. So China and Russia doesn't have an answer against capitalism. Nobody has an answer for peace. Maybe Confucianism in Japan, China, and South Korea. Maybe. This situation is based on the paradox of today's international system. The conflict caused by the desire of states to be guided by national interest, and their understanding of this is determined by their own culture, is unfolding in the context of an inextricably interconnected world. The crisis of liberal globalization won't lead to the disintegration of the international system into isolated parts. The nature of interaction is changing, but it is not disrupted, and cases in which production and logistics chains suffer as a result of armed conflicts give rise to universal concern and a universal desire to remove obstacles. Illustrative examples are the problems of navigation in the Black Sea and the Black and Red Seas. This integrity of a diverse world is another obstacle to the division of interest values. The latter runs counter to development goals, which require the exploitation of all opportunities and the maintenance of continuous communication. The emerging global political economy rejects both a single center of dominance and a rigid division into blocks. Lasting power, another subtitle from Fyodor Lukyanov. An important feature of the new world is the decline of soft power as it was understood at the end of the last century. This is because nonviolent influence has proven its effectiveness. And now everyone is taking steps to neutralize it. Hence the plethora of laws designed to prevent foreign influence. This is combined with widespread efforts to strengthen cultural and value identity, both within the Western community, consolidation on radical liberal grounds, and outside it. As a result, receptiveness to ideas outside a particular culture is declining. This applies both to the West's attempts to impose its universalist approach on the world, which are still sluggish, and to the desire of every actor. Russia is no exception, to unite other countries and peoples under its own ideological and political banner. The active discussion is in our country about the need for a state ideology is probably important from the point of view of the state and the cohesion of society, but it has little relevance for international activities. There is simply no demand in the world for transitional ideologies of any kind. This does not exclude the use of some slogans: the fight against colonialism, defense of traditional values, etc. But they are only tools. You know, this paragraph is very, very interesting to me because I guess I like, what is this? This is science, political science, I guess. This is kind of sociology, I guess. I guess this is sociology. How how to keep a country united, you know, the cohesion of society, about the need for a state ideology, the active discussion in our country about the need for a state ideology is probably important from the point of view of the state and the cohesion of society. You know, I'm atheist, you know. Pepe Escobar was, I don't know Pepe Escobar personally, but I trust his opinion because he's a Brazilian. I know 10,000 Brazilians. I was living in Brazil. I know them, I understand them. So Pepe Escobar is our agent, is our cultural agent. And what Pepe Escobar says is what Chinese people are saying, and Russian people are saying too, is that the West is decadent with all this liberalism. But you know, I will bet on communism. You know, I'm betting on communism here. Yeah, I guess this Orthodox Catholicism, Russian Orthodox Catholicism, will not pay off in the end, you know. This is just more imperialism. In China, the same thing, I guess. But China, they are a little more communist, isn't it? They are kind of socialist. I guess that's it. I guess the only way to fix society problems is with the economy, you know, the economical system. Capitalism is a failure system. So anyway, you can try anything like Orthodox Catholicism in Russia. I guess it will fail too, because you know, God doesn't exist. That's it. Communism will win, I guess. Communism will win. But that's very important. Anyway, these are all important issues. Conflicts are permanent because they pass from one level to another, but they do not end. The main characteristics of a state are its stability and ability to react quickly to changes. The key to success is foreign policy is the internal socioeconomic and moral condition of the state. Well, is almost the same thing I said. As the experience of the 2 years of Ukraine conflict has shown, it is not the ideological narrative or the appeal to institutions that makes the biggest impression on the outside world, but the ability to withstand a strong external pressure and maintain the potential for development. This can be seen as the new variant of what has been called soft power. To play with words in the American way, let us call the phenomenon firm power. It fits in well with the concept of state civilization currently accepted at the official level. It is impossible to give a clear definition of this phenomenon, but our general understanding corresponds well to the needs of the time. State civilization has a basis in itself, is self-sufficient, does not proclaim his isolationism, and is, to use a fashionable term, inclusive, does it, capable of harmonizing different cultural elements, such as framework. If it can not only be proclaimed but also embodied, also corresponds to volatile international circumstances. I'm running almost without energy here in my cell phone. Without facets, what does all this means? All this means for Russia's international activities. It is presumptuous to draw conclusions. The global environment described is characterized by variability. Let us try to outline a new trends. First, foreign policy is closely linked to the tasks of internal development. This is a trivial statement. It has been said before, but now it should be taken literally. Internal development is an absolute priority. Without it, nothing else will work. In the hierarchy of spheres of state activity, defense policy is becoming more important than foreign policy due to the polarization and militarization of the international environment. And domestic policy is becoming more important than defense policy. But the distinction between them is almost disappearing. Second, Russia is a country that has an interest in maintaining and strengthening global connectivity. The reason is simple. In the natural development of the world system without destructive political interference, it is practically impossible to bypass Russia in terms of resources, logistics, and transport. Using Russia's capabilities will automatically mean developing its potential and strengthening its position. Related to this is the third point: initiatives on world problems that require a truly common solution. This includes problems of ecology in space and limiting the technological possibilities of interference in public and private life as part of the larger issue of the future of artificial intelligence. So far, these problems have been discussed only in the Western ideological paradigm, but their exhaustion is already noticeable. Russia, with its combined natural, intellectual, and technological resources, is well placed to offer new approaches. Fourth, like-minded groups, international coalitions can be formed around clear objectives that particular countries are interested in achieving. Common institutions lose their effectiveness because of the multidirectional interests of their participants. This applies not only to the structures on which the previous world order was based, but also new ones such as BRICS or the CSCO. They need an applied agenda whose importance is recognized by all members. One thing is clear: overcoming Western monetary and financial hegemony and promoting development which doesn't rely on Western institutions is a priority. Moving away from this monopoly is good for everyone, even those who get along with the West. That's, well, definitely Fyodor Lukyanov is, I will not say if he's better than the fourth one, but look, he's a very sober guy, you know. Well, he's answered me a lot of questions I have, like this one about monetary and financial hegemony. That's why Israel is bombing so much Palestine, because of the Western institution, you know, because of the financial hegemony. That's why. That's the reality, folks. That's the reality of the world. Let's say I take a bus right here in Chile. They buy Shell gasoline. So what's the point in all this? Shell people, the British Petroleum, everybody, Texaco, Exxon, Mobil Oil, they are all Jews. They all send money to Israel. why not? That will be perfectly possible. Anyway, fifth, the direct neighborhood is multiplying in importance, all the more so as the old ways of exerting influence associated with the legacy of the past, the inertia of unconditional Russian dominance, are irreversible, disappearing. How to maintain influence within reasonable limits to be able to pursue one's interest, but not to get involved in fruitless rivalries with other powers, is the main question of the coming years. Migration policy will play an almost decisive role in building relations with neighboring countries, as well a well-functioning system of attracting people for permanent residence and work based on clear criteria and as free from corruption as possible is of fundamental importance for both newcomers and Russians. A rigid but fair migration model will strengthen the civilizational fabric, while its absence will undermine it. More generally, in a world where the mobility of people is increasing for various reasons, climate, inequality, etc., the ability to regulate migration flows will be the most important condition for sustainability and development. It will also be an instrument of foreign policy. Well, all this means I have zero chance to take a scholarship in Russia because I could be a terrorist, I'm not. I love Anna Sakharova. I don't remember the name of that woman. Tennis players, yeah. Anna Kurnikova, I love all of them. This raises the conceptual question of the nature of borders, the impossibility of either opening them completely, as liberal globalization seemed to demand, or closing them completely, as was the case in the 20th century USSR, in the core dilemma. Both are disastrous for the state. Flexible regulation. We are talking not only about the movement of people but also of money, information and goods. Is an urgent need that will be solved manually for a long time to come. All of this is aimed at solving the problem of national security in the broadest sense. In the more traditional form, a strong and modern armed force is a necessary guarantee for all the rest. The high level of conflict in the world leaves no other option. Those who predict a growing number with increasing severity of interstate conflicts are probably right, but the complexity of today's international system has an important consequence. War is no longer a way of resolving contradictions as it was in past centuries. More precisely, a military conflict can open a boil, but it does not necessarily lead to a cure, and is fraught with complications, does it? New ailments. There is a need for credible deterrence, which sometimes requires the use of force, but above all to maintain balance. The Ukraine crisis is the result of a glaring imbalance that emerged after the end of the Cold War. Because of its size and potential, Russia has major opportunities for independent development. This is realistic under conditions of lasting peace, and the fight for it is the main task of any state policy. This article was first published by Profile RU, translated and edited by the Air Russia Today team. This was huge. This article was huge. Tommy. Tommy opening an eye. This saw. Well, I'm gonna read short headlines now. I'm just gonna read headlines because Fyodor Lukyanov was too huge. His article was too big, but it was a nice article, you know. I guess Russian people, they are sober. I guess Russian people, they are trustable. Understand? They are reliable. You can trust what they are saying. That's a very important thing in life, don't you think? May 29. I'm just gonna read the headlines now. Home business news. IMF warns Europe over energy security. The conflict between Moscow and Kiev is keeping energy prices high, a study released by the International Monetary Fund suggests. Well, you know, if there will be World War III, there will be a completely hell. A lot of people will die of hunger. I forgot the word. Starve. Yeah, a lot of people will starve. Even myself, my dogs. Just the headlines. Maybe tomorrow we'll be able to read all this. May 29, home Russia and former Soviet Union. US wants to deploy previously banned missiles in Asia Pacific. Moscow. Washington could approach regional powers to deploy assets which were once buried under the now defunct ENF Treaty, Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov says. May 29, 2024, Home World News. Western backers warn Zelensky not to expect the impossible, Telegraph. The US and Germany are very skeptical about Ukraine moving closer to NATO, to NATO membership, the report says. That's an interesting news, but I'm just gonna read all the headlines and then I'm gonna do my yoga outside after the record. May 29, home Russia and former Soviet Union. Billionaire tycoon backs tax increases. Higher taxation of the better off is fair and long overdue. Russian businessman Alisher Usmanov says. I got nothing from that. I don't even know what is a tycoon, but I have an idea. May 29, home Russia and former Soviet Union. US may have secretly approved attack on Russian nuclear radar. Austrian military reported Ukrainian attack on a key radar site could trigger retaliation. And expert analyst shared by the Austrian Armed Forces says they are playing with fire, you know. May 29, home business news. Major global refiner to buy Russian oil in rubles, Reuters. Rosneft and Reliance Industry have reportedly clinched a one-year deal. And then we have CGTN news. Maybe tomorrow. Business incubator brings researchers and entrepreneurs together in Chongqing. This was May 26, 2024 in CGTN. This is a short one. The southwestern Chinese city of Chongqing is strategically significant for China's economy. It has developed many high-tech enterprises with the help of business incubators, providing university researchers with opportunities to work with entrepreneurs on developing new products. This is the very best news. Look, so Israel, there's a lot of war in Israel. There's a lot of war in Russia. But look about this. What about this? China, Japan, and South Korea can find ways to coexist peacefully. May 28. Maybe all of this is because of Confucianism. Opinion. Asad Assam. Asad Assam, a special commentator on current affairs for CGTN, works in a private organization as a market and business analyst and writes about geopolitical issues and regional conflicts. The article reflects the author's opinion and do not necessarily those of CGTN. At a trilateral summit with Japanese Minister Fumio Kishida and South Korean President Yoon Suk Yeol, Chinese Premier Li Qiang stressed that all three countries should regard each other as partners and oppose turning trade and economic issues into political or security matters. The summit's restoration after a 4-year hiatus holds great significance as the leaders agreed to speed up negotiations on a tripartite free trade agreement and boost people-to-people exchanges. They also reaffirmed support for an open, rules-based multilateral trading system and expressed common interest and responsibility to maintaining peace and prosperity in the region. Well, I'm gonna read this next time, but I guess it's fine like that. It's a huge article. Next one, US weaponizes global health against China. Global health against China, May 28. Opinion, Radhika Desai. I don't know what could be about if COVID-19 is just gone, isn't it? But maybe I'm gonna read tomorrow. North Korea vows sends more balloons to South Korea. KCN reports. The Democratic People's Republic of Korea vowed on Wednesday to send more balloons into the Republic of Korea, South Korea. Dozens of times the number is said that North Korea has sent into its territory. State media. Well, provocations. Who knows? US Zoo welcomed 2 new pandas from China. This is also a short one. And it looks so beautiful, a beautiful panda. More panda. Look. Beautiful. I want a panda. China bets Netherlands 3-1 at Women's Volleyball Nations League. News of beautiful babes. Beautiful women, why not? Chinese private firm Galactic Energy launched 4 satellites from sea. May 29, Wu Li, Ludinan. Anyway, you know, I was thinking about myself and all this Chinese technology, that all these Huawei cell phones, they didn't exist 20 years ago. Huawei didn't exist, you know, and now they make the best cell phones in the world, in history. All these cell phones are great. I like them. Report: human rights situation in US continued to deteriorate in 2023 Chinese news about the deterioration of human rights in the US. The State Council Information Office of the People's Republic of China on Wednesday released a report on human rights violations in the United States in 2023, revealing that the human rights situation in the United States continued to deteriorate in the last year. So this is an interesting news, but I don't have time. It's time for Tommy. I didn't read nothing from Al Jazeera, so that's how bad things are going. Because today I didn't got a window on the bus. I imagine to read in the middle of people without a window to film. You know, I had no direction to film. You know, and it's better to film the streets, because if you didn't pay attention, if you don't think like me, if you film the streets and read news, you can show how Chile is a peaceful country, I guess, or is a country full of junkies or anything, you know, a country full of ugly people. Who knows? Like here, a country full of trucks. Definitely, I love what I do. I hope someday to see something like that in other countries. A country in which nobody will steal your phones. At least that I have to recognize right here in Chile. I will not be able to do this in Brazil, for example. And that's it.